Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome, and we're glad you could join us today. My name is Laura Jones, and I'm the Northwest Regional Coordinator of the Indiana State Library's Professional Development Office. I will be your host and question moderator for today's webinar, NetGalley Live Demo and Overview, presented by Tara Theoret and Hallie Fields. First, allow me to introduce our speakers. Tara Theoret is the Senior Director of Community Experience at NetGalley, a service that helps publishers and authors promote digital review copies to book advocates and industry professionals. She has more than 15 years of experience in community engagement, as well as retail and digital book marketing focused on children's books. Tara is also a graduate of Pace University's MS in Publishing program. Hallie Fields is the Assistant Manager of Social Media at NetGalley. She is a former librarian with 10 years of library experience. Most recently, she was a teen services librarian at a public library where she specialized in collection development and building teen programming. She is a graduate of UNC Greensboro's Library and Information Science MLIS program. Tara and Hallie, we are thrilled to have you here today to share more about NetGalley for libraries. Just a couple of quick announcements before we begin. To register for other webinars or other trainings available from the Professional Development Office, please see the Indiana State Library's events calendar, which can be found on our website at www.in.gov/library. For a full list of our current in-person training menu, please see our continuing education website. This session will be about an hour, so you'll receive one LEU for the presentation. I'll be sending a follow-up email to all live participants within the next day or so with your LEU certificate and the recording. If you're watching an archived recording of this webinar, instructions on how to obtain your LEU are in the video's description on YouTube, or you can find those instructions on our continuing education site under LEU policies. Without any further ado, I will now turn the presentation over to Tara and Hallie.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you for everybody for joining us today. And we're really excited to talk to you about NetGalley and how your account, which will be free, can help you gain access to digital galleys and audiobooks really quickly and easily. And we're really excited to talk to a group of librarians and library workers, since there are so many great features on NetGalley specifically for you. And above all, you're amazing book advocates. As Laura mentioned, I'm Tara Theoret, and with the Community Experience team, we focus on all aspects of our community, including welcoming new members, helping existing members utilize the site, and creating thoughtful ways to engage with all of you.
And I'm Hallie Fields, the Assistant Manager of Social Media. I create content for all of the NetGalley social channels and interact with our members. I'm also part of the Community Experience team, and I just love finding new ways to reach out to our members. I use NetGalley on a daily basis at my public library job, so I'm so excited to share some tips and tricks with you. So let's back up a little and chat about what NetGalley is and how librarians and library workers can utilize it. This will be helpful information if you're new to our site or even if you have an account already. First, we want to emphasize that you and your colleagues can use NetGalley for free to request, read, and recommend books and audiobooks before they're published. Then, once you have access to these books, you can provide reviews and feedback to publishers and share with other readers, including your patrons. We'll get into more detail about this shortly. Publishers make their upcoming front list, but also their backlist books available on NetGalley, all of which can be read or listened to digitally. Again, this is a completely free service for library workers. So if your colleagues aren't aware of NetGalley, please encourage them to sign up so they can begin accessing more books. So let's talk about why NetGalley is a valuable resource for you. We have something for everyone, whether you work in collection development, run a book club, or provide recommendations through Reader's Advisory at your library. NetGalley is an approachable resource that's easy to use, whether you're utilizing it on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. You can download free digital review copies and easily share feedback with publishers. You can also connect with publishers by favoriting them within your account so you can quickly browse their books. Also, many publishers auto-approve librarians, meaning you can immediately download a book without requesting it. We also work closely with the American Library Association and Library Reads. ALA members who use NetGalley can add their ALA member number to their profile, and publishers will see a special ALA icon when you request their books. Verified ALA members are generally approved faster. You can also nominate books for Library Reads. Any member registered as a librarian can nominate books for the Library Reads list through NetGalley. We collect nominations and submit them to Library Reads for consideration each month. To access this feature, you need to be registered as a librarian in the US, have your library type filled in, and be approved or invited to view the book you'd like to nominate on NetGalley. And we'll show you how to use both of those features in just a second. NetGalley also has free book club kits that you can instantly download and use with your book clubs, or you can print them and have them on hand as reading resources. As librarians or library staff, you can receive librarian-focused newsletters each month from NetGalley, library marketing departments, and other publishers. Just make sure you're opted into receiving newsletters, which you can do at registration or in your profile. Do we have any questions that we want to get to from this part?
Yes. We have one question from Autumn. She says she uses NetGalley as a blogger, but does she need to switch it to a librarian to access these things?
Yeah, well, let me back up. So if your primary use of NetGalley is as a blogger, we do recommend that you use the reviewer member type. But if you want to use it as a librarian and access the ALA member verification and being able to nominate for library reads, you do have to be registered as a librarian. So it just depends on like how you primarily want to use the site.
Okay, I think that's the only question for now, ladies.
Perfect. We'll actually move into going over registering now. So that might help answer some of your questions too.
Okay, sorry. I had a lot of windows to click on. For those of you who are new to NetGalley and do not have an account yet, it's really easy and completely free to join. So in registration, first you'll need to choose a login name. Again, a lot of this is going to be really self-explanatory, but we're just going to walk you through it in case you have any questions about it. So your login, this is only to use for sign-in purposes. It's not visible to publishers or anywhere else on the site. And of course, we always recommend choosing a strong password. You'll, of course, want to enter your first and last name. And we recommend using your professional email address. This is, if you want it to be visible to publishers, then you can have direct correspondences with them, but also it lets them kind of verify that you work at the library, and it just kind of helps with that. And then you also want to provide your country of residence. Now, as librarians and library staff, kind of harkening back to this last question we just had, if your primary use of NetGalley is as a librarian, that you want to choose the librarian member type. And to finish off, you will need to agree to our privacy policy terms of use. This is where you'll also confirm that you are at least 18 years old, which you'll need to be to use the site. And then if you'd like to opt into our newsletters, just check the last box. If you change your mind later, you can always update your email preferences in your profile, and we'll show you some examples of the types of newsletters you can receive in just a bit. And then you'll just click or tap register, and an authentication link will be sent to your email address really shortly. This is just so that we can verify that your email address is correct and working. And then you'll go to your inbox and you should see the email, and then you just click or copy and paste the authentication link into your browser, and you'll be brought straight to NetGalley. Now, especially the first time you log into NetGalley, you'll see the profile walkthrough. Now, this is a really easy step-by-step way to complete your profile so you can start using NetGalley right away. All the information in your profile is visible to publishers who you interact with. This means that you've requested or already accessed a book from them. Otherwise, no other publishers and certainly no members can view your profile information. Now, the member type you chose at registration will appear here, but just in case you chose the wrong one or you feel like another one would be a better fit, you can always change it at this very moment. Though I want to note, once you finish this walkthrough, you can't change your member type. So if you ever change your career or your focus on how you use NetGalley or accessing digital review copies and audiobooks, you can just reach out to our friendly support team and we can manually make that change for you. Next, you'll choose the type of library you work in. And then you'll type in the name of your library and branch or location. And again, this is all really helpful for publishers. Now, to request books on NetGalley, you will need to choose at least one category, which is what we call genre. But you can select as many as you'd like. And if you're opted into receiving newsletters from us, you will receive emails periodically about books in the categories you have selected. As with categories, if you're interested in audiobooks or book clubs, which could also include book club books, kits, and other resources, you will receive occasional emails about these topics if you selected them. Now, your bio. This is a great place to convey extra information to publishers. Like if you run a library book club, author events, or in charge of purchasing for your library or library system, we recommend thinking of it as your book advocate resume. So keep it concise and relevant to how you use NetGalley, since publishers tend to look at the bio when making approval decisions if they haven't already approved you. And as we mentioned earlier, if you're a member of the ALA, you can add your member ID here, or you can add it later in your profile. Once added, just like Hallie already said, the ALA icon will appear next to your name for publishers when you request books from them. So they'll see your request, they'll see your name, email address, and they'll see the little ALA icon. So they tend to approve people a lot quicker if they have that. Now, this step isn't required for librarians, but if you recommend books on your personal or library social channels or website, you can add them here so publishers can easily click through to see how you recommend books to your audience. And again, not required for librarians, but if you focus your efforts on a particular platform, you can note it here. Now on NetGalley, we display the reviews submitted for each book. You can see them when you visit any book page and scroll down to the review section. The display preferences allow you to choose how you'd like your reviews to be publicly credited on NetGalley. So you can choose to use your first name, last initial, and member type, or an auto-generated alias that shows your member type and an auto-generated number. So it makes it a lot more anonymous. And that's it. That's all you have to do. And then you have this handy intro page about what you can do next. Now, to begin reading or listening books on NetGalley that you get access to, you really just need to click automatically set up your preferred reading device or app. This is because all of the files on NetGalley are protected. They can't be shared, printed, etc. So it just requires a little bit of setup. We have our own reading and listening app that we really recommend using. It's the NetGalley Shelf app. It's available on iOS and Android. It's totally free. And it is the exclusive way to listen to audiobooks on NetGalley. But we also support other apps and devices that you can find in our device guide. We have really quick step-by-step setup instructions there. And our support team's always happy to help. And then from here, you can click on a book in this Read Now carousel that if you find anything interesting, you want to start reading right away, or you can skip it and hop right into your account. Now, let's walk through the basics of the site. As you can see from the navigation bar, it's fairly easy to find what you're looking for. The member dashboard has been designed to reflect your personal preferences, making it really easy to find books to request, read, and review. And I highly recommend checking out the weekly dashboard message for quick links to book lists, tips, and announcements. Hallie schedules this every week, so it's always really good. And then on this page, you can also see your favorite categories, publishers, and auto approvals. Now, the Find Title section is the main catalog, where you can use a number of browsing options to discover and request books or audiobooks that may interest you. We'll come back to this section in just a second because there's a lot more I want to talk about here. And then your shelf is a section you can use as a to-do list of all the books and audiobooks you're reading or planning to review. And as you're approved for books or gain access to them, your shelf will automatically populate and sort your books by where you are in the reading or review process. So it's really easy to keep track of kind of like all your TBR and then, you know, to be reviewed. And then you can always go back and look at reviews and feedback you submitted. And as we mentioned during the profile walkthrough, you can always add or update information in your profile just by clicking your name at the top of the page.
Hallie, we do have a question about that now that you're on the profile page.
Sure.
If someone changes libraries in the future, will NetGalley allow them to change their email address?
Oh, yes. Yep. Their email would be in account security. Yep.
Yes.
And yeah, it's really easy. You can change everything that you see in the profile walkthrough. You can change in your profile or update except your member type. Otherwise, everything else is adjustable.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right, there are so many ways for library workers to utilize NetGalley, and I wanted to share a few examples of how I used it as a librarian to complete some of my daily tasks. Do you purchase for a specific collection at your library, like romance or crafts and hobbies? Make sure to favorite the categories you work with, and you'll see them on your dashboard under your categories. And you'll see titles from those categories on this page as well. When you click on a category, you can easily see the newest additions. Browsing categories can be helpful for all collection development purchases. I found it particularly helpful when I was buying for more specific topics like gardening, self-help, parenting, etc., because I could see a more narrow group of titles. Also, take note of the reader recommended and most requested carousels on each category page. The reader recommended carousel showcases books highly rated by other NetGalley members. And most requested is just what it sounds like, the most requested titles in those categories. These carousels can help you find titles to consider for upcoming book clubs, events, author visits, and more. These titles are already receiving buzz from NetGalley community members and may be popular in your library. Just like how you can favorite categories, you can also favorite publishers. You can easily browse books from a publisher that you know you've enjoyed in the past. I loved using this feature to favorite publishers like DK and Chronicle when I was looking for standout nonfiction titles, because I could do a quick browse of my favorited publishers and see upcoming titles that I knew I would want to preview for my library. We also know that not everyone can make it to in-person conferences. Publishers use NetGalley to fulfill DRCs and provide you with access to many of the books they're giving away at events. So you don't have to feel like you're missing out. One last thing that I really loved using NetGalley for when I was purchasing books for the fiction collection in particular was for indie and self-pubbed books. Are you seeing like a rise in requests for smaller press or self-published titles at your library thanks to viral TikToks? More libraries are now including indie and self-pub books in their collections after increased interest in their communities. But it can be hard to find reviews of these titles before making purchase decisions. You can read reviews from other industry professionals and reviewers who have left feedback for the books on NetGalley. Also, if you need any extra help with your device, with the NetGalley Shelf app, with downloading a book, or if you just have any other questions, you can always reach out to our support team through the help button at the top of the page and search our FAQs, which will take you to our knowledge base.
We do have one more question that came in.
Sure.
I am currently acquiring my MLS, so what would I be as a member type? I work in a public library space.
I would recommend being a librarian. I know it says librarians, but it's really for anybody, like you said, in the library space, library workers, anybody. So you'll be using it, in that same manner.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, so now that your profile is filled in and your devices are set up, you're ready to start reading. So once you find a book you're interested in, take a look at the book's status. And here's a few things you might see. A book might have a read now or listen now button. And that means that when you're signed into your account, you will be instantly approved for that book. Just press the read now or listen now button, and you'll see the book added to your dashboard and on your shelf too. You might see a request button. To request a digital review copy or audiobook, simply click on the request button. A notification will be sent to the publisher, who will then approve or decline your request. Once your request is approved or declined, you will receive an email notification, and that'll be delivered to the same email address that you listed in your profile. When there are no request or read now buttons available for a book, members have the option to wish for it, indicating to the publisher that they're interested in accessing it. Publishers have the ability to grant wishes to randomly selected members if they choose to do so. Another way to get access to books and audiobooks is by being invited through a widget. And you may have already seen a widget in a newsletter from a publisher or a follow-up email from a conference. If you received an email from a publisher containing a widget link, that means that you've been pre-approved to view and download that book on NetGalley. Once you sign into your NetGalley account, you'll be able to access and download the book immediately. And here are some examples of newsletters that you may receive from NetGalley. The first two newsletters are examples of publisher-specific e-blasts just for librarians. And the first one is an example of a newsletter that contains embedded widget links, meaning they created a widget for each of the books in the newsletter. And all you have to do is click the Read It button to download the book. Again, no waiting to be approved. The third newsletter on this page is our monthly librarian newsletter. It includes books from various publishers and can include books that are available to request or read now. So if you'd like to receive these newsletters and emails that go out to other member types related to your preferred categories and topics, make sure you either opt into receiving newsletters at registration or in your profile. Once you're approved to access a book, you can select a reading option. For audiobooks, there's only one option, the NetGalley Shelf app. But for digital review copies or DRCs, you can choose from the reading options the publisher enabled. That could include the NetGalley Shelf app, any Adobe supported device, or the Kindle or Kindle app. After you finish reading or listening to a book, you're ready to submit feedback.
Now, your reviews and feedback are really important to publishers and other readers. So let's talk about what you can include in your feedback once you've read the book, and how you can do that. So first, you'll see here, once you've read a book, you'll have a give feedback button, and you'll see this opinion page. So there's these questions that allow you to provide quick but important information on the publisher. And I'll caveat this by saying that each member type has specific opinion questions that are really targeted to how that member type uses NetGalley. So as you can see here, all these questions are really geared towards librarians and library workers. This is also where you can nominate books for the library reads list. So you see the second question about nominating, and just select yes to nominate the books for the list, and we'll do the rest. At the end of each month, we send all of your nominations to Library Reads so they can determine the next month's list. And while it isn't necessary to add a review or annotation to your nomination for it to count, Library Reads always appreciates it. So if you wanted to add an annotation, just use our review option, which we'll go over right after this. And Library Reads advises to write conversationally as though you're talking about a favorite book with a patron or colleague at the library or with a friend, and use your own voice. Now, at the bottom of this page, you'll see a notes for the publisher section. You'll see it in orange, so then once you click it, it'll expand, and you'll see this text box. Here is where you can include any actions that resulted from accessing the book, such as I've ordered 10 copies of this for my library, or I'm planning an author event, or even if just to say you really enjoyed the book and will be recommending it to your patrons or colleagues. We do ask that if you're having any issues with the book at all, downloading, reading, listening to it, or experiencing any other issues that can be troubleshooted, to not submit that here in the notes section or as a review, but instead get in touch with our support team, because we can respond really quickly to help you. Now, as I mentioned, after you submit your opinions, you have the chance to write a review if you want to. This isn't mandatory, especially for library member type. So if you want to, or if you want to submit an annotation for your nomination for Library Reads, you can write your review in the text box and then give it a quick star rating, depending on if you'd recommend the book, 1 being least likely and 5 meaning you'll absolutely recommend it. And if you're posting your review online, you can share those links with the publisher by clicking Add Links that appears under the text box. And once your review is submitted to the publisher, you can also share it to retail sites and any social accounts you connected in the walkthrough or in your profile. we have any questions so far?
Yes, we do have a question that just came in. Is the feedback screen that you just showed mandatory if you download a digital review copy?
It's not mandatory, no. I mean, we highly recommend submitting feedback, even if it's just the opinions, but it's not mandatory.
Okay.
Because
And
we
then
also, oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, we also recognize that there are other reasons that people are accessing digital review copies and audiobooks. So it may not always result in feedback.
Okay, thank you. And I also thought of a question just now that I was wondering. Do NetGalley digital review copies expire from your device at a certain point, or they just, how does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. They do sometimes. So if you're reading on a Kindle, they do not expire because Kindle/Amazon, they have a proprietary protection on files that doesn't expire. But if you're reading on anything else, the NetGalley Shelf app, you're using Bluefire, like anything else, it's going to be supported by Adobe, and there is a 55-day license. Every time you download a file from NetGalley, there's a license attached to it, and it's a 55-day one. But if the book hasn't been archived by the publisher yet on NetGalley, which usually maybe happens around pub date, not always, but it depends. If it hasn't been archived, then you can just go back to NetGalley and re-download it and just get a brand new license. But we find that 55 days usually is a good amount of time. So we recommend people accessing them right away.
Great, thank you.
All right, so outside of the books and audiobooks featured on NetGalley, we have even more resources for our members. We Are Bookish is an editorial blog for NetGalley members, presenting an independent voice to highlight books and a bookish lifestyle. You'll find a link to the site on the NetGalley homepage. You can expect some recurring features like interviews with authors, monthly roundups of upcoming books, genre lists, social tips, and so much more. New content is added to the site every week. Subscribe to the We Are Bookish newsletter and you'll never miss an article. We also promote We Are Bookish content on the NetGalley social channels, so make sure to follow us there. And We Are Bookish also has a publisher page on NetGalley featuring book club kits. Each kit is sponsored by the publisher and created with the help of the We Are Bookish team, and they're all available to read now on NetGalley. These kits include author interviews, recipes, activities, read-alikes, and discussion questions perfect for library, school, bookstore, and reader-driven clubs. We're so excited about our newest book club kit for Sally Rooney's Beautiful World, Where Are You? We also have kits for lots of different genres, including nonfiction. And these kits aren't just for book club leaders. They also include resources like printable bookmarks and easy to replicate activities that your patrons may be interested in. We would love to hear your feedback about these book club kits after you download them on NetGalley. The feedback you share will help us in the creation of future kits. Let us know what the most helpful resources were, if there are other elements, activities, or information that would be useful, and any other opinions after you read through the kit. Feedback from librarians is so valuable for us. And you'll also find the Book Advocate Toolkit on the We Are Bookish publisher page. This is a free resource put together by our team, and it's updated regularly. It features NetGalley tips, book review tips, an overview of bookish social media, and more. The toolkit is packed with direct links to We Are Bookish articles. It's a great starting place for anyone new to NetGalley or someone looking to up their book advocacy. We invite you to download the toolkit, which has over 1,000 reviews, including some stellar ones from librarians, like the ones we've highlighted here. And we would love to hear your feedback about it too.
So now that we've talked about all the ways you can utilize NetGalley and showed you how easy it is to join and kind of get started, we'd love to open the floor for questions, more questions than have already been asked. But I also want to say, if you think of a question later, you can always submit it to us. So just use the support@netgalley.com email address, and Hallie and I will respond to you.
Okay, thank you. I think we do have a new question that just came in. Someone would like to know, if you read a physical copy of a book, can you put your review in NetGalley?
You can if you've gained access to the DRC or audiobook in NetGalley. So you have to have that connection already in NetGalley to be able to submit feedback. Otherwise, you won't be able to.
Great. Yep, that's what I usually do. I read a lot of physical books, and I'm like, oh, I want to review this. So that's a great option to just download it and then review it. So, and then I had a question too. I'd heard this before, and I don't know if this is true, but do they always release the newer books on Tuesday? Is that correct? Like, our Tuesday is the big pub day usually?
Oh yeah, for publication, on sale dates are usually Tuesdays, especially with the more established publishing houses. But sometimes you'll see smaller houses or self-pubbed books. They may go outside of that. Maybe they're trying to take advantage of a different pub date and not competing with a bunch of the big ones. But yeah, Tuesdays are pretty reliable for that.
Okay. If anybody has any other questions, feel free to type those in the chat. And I appreciated this walkthrough. I've been on NetGalley a long time, but it's nice to see how you can go back in and change things on your profile. It looks a lot easier with this new walkthrough.
Yeah, the walkthrough is really easy. So all of you are getting the first kind of demo of it. But yeah, we're hoping that it helps streamline that whole process and gets everybody off to just a really great start.
Okay, I don't see any more questions coming in, but I just want, oh, here's one. How do you access the book club kits? I'm on Bookish and I clicked on a couple of book kits, but I don't see the kits.
If you're on Bookish, if you're on We Are Bookish, then there's the book club kit page. Just click through to those and it should bring you right to NetGalley. We used to host them on We Are Bookish, but then we decided to make them more like DRCs so that people could actually submit feedback and it be a little bit more interactive, because we've gained a lot of insight from all the feedback we've gotten so far for the kits. And so when we make a new one, we always take that into account. But yeah, you should be able to just go onto NetGalley. If you want, you can just go to the publishers, browse publishers, and go to We Are Bookish. And the We Are Bookish page is all of the book club kits, plus that book advocate toolkit, which is phenomenal. And I'll also say the book advocate toolkit is a living document. So we update that a couple times a year, especially if we have enhancements to the site, or there's a new social platform everybody's using. Like, whatever is happening, we make sure that that is very, very current and accurate.
Okay, I think we have a couple more questions here. The first one, are we required to do a certain number of reviews? I have a large number saying awaiting feedback, but I don't have feedback for all of them.
No, you're not required to have a certain number of reviews. Also, as librarians, those opinion questions, that opinion page that you'll see first when you go to submit feedback, that's really, really important. I mean, if you want to submit a full review, or you also use NetGalley primarily as a librarian or library worker, but then on the side, you also have a blog or a really strong social presence where you recommend books, then you can also submit a review, but it's not absolutely essential. It is more so for other members on NetGalley, like reviewers, bloggers. So you don't have to. If you want to, then that's gravy. That's extra. That's great. Publishers love that.
All right, another question. If your book has expired, can you still review it?
Yes. Yeah. If any book you've gained access to, whether you've been approved, your wish was granted, it was a read now book, it was a widget invite, however you access the book initially, you can always submit a review for it, even if it's expired.
Okay, I'm going to wait just a few more moments and see if anyone else has any more questions in the chat. I will say while we're waiting to see if there's any more questions, just a reminder that I will be sending out a recording of today's presentation, and it will also include the slides and the chat transcript and pretty much everything you will need, all the resources, the contact information for Tara and Hallie. So you will get that shortly. It looks like people are thanking you for the presentation. It was great, learned a lot. So thank you both for that.
Yeah.
Maybe just a few more moments here, see if there's any questions. All right, and then just a reminder to those watching, information on how to get your LEU is in the description in YouTube if you're watching an archived recording of this. We did have an odd question saying, this may be an odd question, but I was wondering if you are a circulation person, can you still be a library member?
Yeah, I would say so, because you're still using it in that same way. So yeah.
Okay. All right, so we got a lot of thank yous in the chat box, and I agree. Thank you so much, both of you, for taking time to present today. This was very helpful and wonderful, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all so much. And please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to answer questions or, even if they're a little bit outside the box. Always excited to do that.
Okay, and I have a question about the LEU. I'm going to send those out to everyone that participated today. I'm not going to have a form to fill out, so there's no link. I will just send those straight to you. All right, well, thank you very much, everyone. Please stop the recording.